Hey Islanders, and welcome to episode 36 of the Camano Voice. On this episode, I get to speak to the Vice President and General Manager of Smokey Point Concrete. Please welcome Mark Crawford. Hi, I'm Brandon Erickson, and you're listening to the Camano Voice podcast, where I interview folks around Camano Island and beyond. If you want to stay up to date on events, businesses, and even hear a little history of this area, subscribe to this podcast and share with your friends. Thanks for listening. Hey Islanders, and welcome to another episode of the Camano Voice, where we release a new episode every Tuesday. On this episode, I got to speak to Mark Crawford, and that last name might sound familiar to you because recently on episode 31, I got to speak to his daughter, Leanna Crawford, who is a musician over in Nashville, and I actually got to speak to one of his other daughters named Lauren Brem. Last name no longer the same because she's married, but she is way back from episode 8. So if you haven't heard that one, go back and listen to both of those episodes. But I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while. Mark was a dad in the community that was highly involved with the church that I grew up in, as well as owning a business, and he has four kids, similar to myself. And so it's always interesting to me to talk to business owners and family men who have been involved in a business, but also have had to work on that work-life balance aspect of it as well. And someone who has gone through all of that and then come out the other end, successful in both sides. So anyways, I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while. I hope you guys will enjoy it. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Mark Crawford. Hey Islanders, and welcome to another episode of the Camano Voice. On this episode, I have the Vice President and General Manager of Smokey Point Concrete. Welcome to the podcast, Mark Crawford.
Thank you, Brandon. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right, so before we jump into everything, tell us a little bit about Mark.
Well, let's. How far back want me to start? So,
as far as you want.
Well, grew up, went to high school in Cedar Woolley, and so spent most of my growing up years there in Skagit County. Then went to a junior college in Eastern Washington called Columbia Basin Junior College in Tri-Cities, and basically that was because of football. And but that's where I was. The reason I went there, I guess, was to meet my wife. So that's where she was from. Nancy was from there, so we met her there. Then went on to Portland State University. Got my degree there, and Nancy got her degree. We got married our last year of college. Went to work in the concrete ready mix business in Portland for a year and a half, and then moved to Yakima. Went to work there for a couple of years over there, working in the same industry and in the sand and gravel and concrete industry. Then Nancy and I moved here and bought into Smokey Point Concrete at that point, and then we raised our family, have four kids, now 2 grandkids here, and
very cool.
Yeah, so there we go.
All right, so I didn't actually realize you're a Cedro person.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. That was a long time Cedro person.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a great place to grow up. It's one of those small communities, similar to Stanwood, just a great place to grow up and real, country town, and a lot of great memories.
Yeah. So then did you guys live in town, or did you live like out of town a little ways?
We lived out of town there, had a little farm, and had horses and cows and chickens and ducks and all that stuff. So had a great time out there. Okay,
I guess I never found out. What did they do for work?
My mom basically was a stay-home mom until my youngest brother, who's 15 years behind me, got into high school. Then she became the school nurse at the Cedar Woolley School District for, I think, about 20 years.
Okay.
And so she was there. My dad was in the same business I was, in the concrete, sand, and gravel business. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So then you were there, where was, because for those who have heard some of the backstory of myself, I worked with Janicki. So, like, where was Janicki at when you guys were living there? Had they started, like, Janicki Industries? Was that going on at that point?
No, I actually went to school with the Janickis. Basically, Mike was a couple years ahead of me. Mike Janicki, John Janicki was in my class, and Rob was a year behind me. And at that time, basically, there was just Janicki logging at that time, and
Got it.
Janicki logging and construction. I think Janicki Industries started, a few years after that, I think. So
okay, very cool. All right, so then you went to Columbia Basin College. What were you studying there then?
Well, that was just mainly I guess. Main reason I went over there was for football, but the study was for business management, is what my associates became at that point. So,
got it.
Yep.
Okay. Nice. And then what brought you to Portland State then?
Football again.
Okay.
Yeah, football scholarship, and that was a great opportunity there. They had a great business school, and that's where my degree ended up being, was business management.
Got it. Okay. Nice. So then you were good enough in football to be able to move along to different colleges and.
Yeah, it was a nice way to get my way paid, most of my way paid through college. So it was it was a fun opportunity, and learned a lot, and it was a great discipline, I guess, to stay, because it's hard. It's sort of like a full-time job in college. You're trying to study. And then you got 6-8 hours of training and practice and football. So it's an interesting time, but it was really a good time. I enjoyed it, and my aspirations to go on. I think at that point I was burned out at football. So by the time I was done at college, I was ready to be done. So
okay, is that passion continued on as you've gotten older?
No, sort of gotten away from it.
Okay.
So it's not quite as it went from being my number one passion to not being much on the radar anymore. So, a little bit still. So
okay, very cool. So then you said you were down in Portland State. You graduated there, and then how'd you get started in the Quickcrete?
Well, in the concrete business there, took a job, had some connection to meet some people down there, and basically took a job in a sales position down there in the. Actually, was started in the concrete bagging products, which was the sand, the small bags, and ed into concrete ready mix sales, which is actually to the contractors and projects around the area. So, basically, went there for about a year and a half. So, I was there.
Okay, and then did you have any sales in your working experience? Did you work sales at all, or what? How did you get started in sales?
Not a lot of no. Did not have any sales experience other than just college education and degree. So very little that per se. I would say sales experience. So it was sort of just, I think that was a position that was open, and since I had some background in the industry and had been around it, then I could they thought I could work selling. So
very cool. And how did that go? Well, did you pick up on sales pretty quick?
Probably not as good as I should have. I probably wasn't. Maybe I thought I was better than I performed, but no, it didn't go bad. It was a great learning experience and understanding the process of selling and marketing and the discipline and difficulty of it it's always a challenge. But it was a great learning experience and it did eventually pick up on it more and more. So
yeah. So how did that lead to Yakima then?
So then another opportunity opened up where to sort of move up into more of a management role in Yakima in the ready mix industry, and was offered a position to go over there, and it looked like a great opportunity at the time, and so we headed over to Yakima. Was there basically in more of a management, sales also, but a little bit more management type thing there. So okay.
At this point, do you have any kids?
No, we have no kids at this point.
Okay.
So we're married, but we're just sort of we're not don't have to worry about bringing kids along with us. So
yeah. So then, how did you guys enjoy your time in Yakima?
We really enjoyed it. It was a fun time. Nancy actually she had to stay at Portland State for basically a quarter to finish her degree, so we were apart for about a quarter. And then she moved up there and stuff. And Yakima, Nancy's from Tri-Cities, so she was close to home there. The desert climate there is nice, the sunshine's nice, but yeah, we had a good time in Yakima. Was it during that time of our life? So
Okay,
yeah.
Nice. Yeah, we would visit Yakima when I was a kid, but it was never. I don't know. We didn't really like Yakima, the area, and so whenever we went over there, it was never a positive experience. It was always kind of just like, it was a little bit boring, and I was like, oh, we're going back to Yakima, and it's a long drive. And
Yep. Yeah. I think if you live there a little bit, you sort of get to see some of the other things that are there and do stuff. But it was during that time of our life, we really enjoyed it and stuff. So
yeah. Well, and when I moved back over there to go to Wazoo later on in life, you're not quite in the Yakima area, but we did some camping trips and stuff. Went down to like Hell's Canyon, so we got to see a lot more of that area. And I was like, oh, there's actually fun stuff to do over here. So it was a turning of that experience. But yeah,
yep.
I remember as a kid, it was not whenever
not
I
your
heard we were
favorite
going there.
place.
So, all right. So then, how long were you guys over in Yakima then?
About 2 years, I think.
2 years.
Yeah,
okay.
About 2 years over there, and then the company was basically sold, and so I had the opportunity to stay over there and work with the new company, or stay with the owner of the old company at another type division that he had and stuff like that. So those were the opportunities I had at that point. So
okay, so you ended up following the other owner then?
No, actually, that's when I had those opportunities there, and then so at that point. That's when the opportunity came that the Smokey Point Concrete at the time was getting ready to be shut down, and because of some management issues and those sort of things, and so I was offered the opportunity to come over and buy out the managing partner, and take it over. So it was so I said that all had at the right time. So I said, you know what, it gets me back over here on the west side. It gets give me an opportunity to, one of the things I knew I always wanted to do from the day I started mowing lawns was I wanted to own my own business, and that was one of those things from 11, 12 years old that I says starting with lawn mowing. So this was an opportunity to come in and own my own business. So
yeah. Very cool. So how did you actually get connected with Smokey Point then? How did you hear about them?
So it was basically 4 partners, and one of the partners, the non-operating partners in it was my dad in that. So
okay.
And so he had a ownership interest in it, and then basically so they offered to say, hey, if, you can come over here, we're going to shut it down. So one of you can buy into it, or we're not going to. So he said, it sounds like a great opportunity. Yeah. Well, they said just bring all the money you have and invest it and see what happens. So which wasn't a lot of money at the time. So.
Okay, that's what I was kind of wondering. Like, where did you get the money to buy out some partner? Because that's a lot of money usually.
Well, let's put it this way: the business at that time, there wasn't much of a business there. Let's put it that way. So it was probably the perfect opportunity for somebody who didn't, wanted to build something from the bottom up. It was there, and So I basically, I forget what I think I had. At the time, I had like $5,000 or $8,000. So that was the down payment, and then I worked. The rest of it came. I worked it off over the next couple years. So
okay,
yeah.
So then, when you look into buying into this, and then the other operating, or not non-operating owners, how did that work out? Like, as far as you're coming in, do they help mentor you in all of this? Do they try and get you up to speed?
Yeah, I mean that was I think the benefit of having people experienced in a business or something like that. There's a mentorship that takes place, and which was great. They allowed me the freedom to operate the business, but they also gave me the freedom to be mentored also and ask questions and learn about the industry. So and how to run a business that way. Okay.
So then, what was the state of Smokey Point Concrete at this point when you stepped through the door?
At that point, it was. I mean, there wasn't a lot there. I think it was like 2 or 3 people and 3 or 4 trucks that would run at any one. A couple would run at one time. So it was basically it was At this point, really, I mean, probably the best thing that at that point there was one person there that was that I worked with for the next 20 years who was a gentleman a little older than I was, that we became just close friends, and he was that was probably the best thing I could have gotten out of the business with that, was that relationship, and then being able to work beside him. But a guy named Lee Ingram, worked with him for 20 years.
Okay.
But that was probably the best thing that came with the came with the business. So the rest of it was yeah. So the state of the business was pretty. It was a failed business at that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So then what was your kind of first steps like stepping into something like that? What was did you have a plan, or were you just like, I'm going to outwork, or?
Yeah. Yeah, I was, as I was thinking about that a little bit recently, but I think at this point I'm 27 years old. So at this point, I think I'm, at 27 years old, I think I'm the smartest person in the world, right? Because at 27, so now in my 50s, I know I'm about the dumbest person in the world at times. But anyway, so a lot of it was just going in there and not without a plan, but basically I was gonna work the thing to death, and whatever it was gonna take, I was gonna do it. And so it was, whether it was 15, 20-hour days sometimes to doing everything and anything that required to be done, and I think that was probably the best thing, that I was maybe at that point I figured that I was just going to battle my way through it no matter what it was, and didn't have a lot of fear at that point either. So.
Okay, and then was Nancy working during this time as well then?
So this is the time where she comes over here, and she's a teacher, and a really good teacher, and so she started working and teaching in the Stanwood school district. And
really?
So,
okay.
Yeah, yep. So right during this time, so she starts teaching, and then I think she taught for 2 years. Yeah, 2 years I think. And then when we had Lauren, our oldest, that's when she said that she just wanted to stay home and stuff. And so that was, I remember that time thinking, wow, I don't know if we can do this, because I don't know if we're having, I'm not sure I'm making enough money for this. And but anyway, it worked out, and God's plan worked out perfect for it. So
yeah. And so during this time, did you guys move directly from Yakima to here on Camano?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, directly to Camano Island here. So,
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, and how long did you guys live on Camano?
We were there for 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was talking with Leanna, your daughter, on a previous episode, and I just remember you guys living on Camano, and so after talking with Lauren and Leanna, I was like, oh, I guess I never had realized that you guys had moved out to Stanwood.
Amazing how those things take place, and no, we love Camano Island. Lived there for 20 years. Still have some property out here that we're going to probably build back on again here soon. But part of it was we just wanted to get some acreage around us, and the kids wanted to have horses and that sort of thing. So we had a place built and really enjoyed it out there, and have enjoyed it. So
yeah, very cool. So then, as you start building up, so about 2 years when you have your oldest, where is Smokey Point Concrete during that time?
Well, it's starting to grow. We're starting to see some good things. It's part of one of the things, and as you probably know, the reputation in the business community is something that you're trying to always grow and always maintain and always improve. And we went from one of the things was we're just basically taking our reputation of being sort of this not a great provider of services and concrete, but then change that reputation to being something that all of a sudden where people were we were over time became one of the best providers of concrete in the area, with customer service and those sort of things, and that's I think in a lot of ways continued, and why that's but during that time it was just in a growth period. There was time when we're growing, there's times when we're making mistakes, there's times when we're having successes and making more mistakes, and it's some of that's just you hit and miss so many times, but hopefully you hit more than you miss. So
yeah. So then that's another question. As you're growing this company, did you strategically or intentionally build management a certain way, and how your team was trained, or how did that all evolve over time?
Yeah, it's and it's interesting. I'm blessed right now with a quality management team right now that's been with me for over 20, 30 years. Some of them,
Wow,
and very very good quality group of people, and it's interesting. You sort of you pick up on things from certain people, and just through bringing them in for one position, and then realizing the talents they have for another position, and they're all growing at the same time, and you're looking for people when you're growing a business that want to grow, that want to learn, that you're looking for positive attitudes. You're looking for people that want to not only excel themselves, but they want their team to excel around them, and you're looking for people that are team players. You want if you're going to build a team around you, they need to feel like they're part of the team, but they also got to give to the team also. And so,
right.
So you look for, I've always looked for people that are truly engaged in building team. And if you're not going to have that, then, if they're just going to, be that person that's, going to be isolated, they're probably not somebody who's going to fit on on my team anyway, per se. So,
yeah. And was that something that that kind of was just a natural thing that you figured out along the way, or was that something that was intentional from the get-go?
I think for me I think a lot of it was intentional, because some of it was I go back and look at one of the things is that not that sports is the only way to get there. There's lots of different ways to get there, but to build when you get to be part of a team that has success and you see everybody moving in one direction, it's sort of a exciting time. Everybody's moving in the same step, and I've been on some sports teams that everybody was moving, and we had some success, and it was like almost you couldn't be stopped. And so so intentionally you start looking to say, okay, that was pretty fun, that was cool to be able to be part of that, and so okay, how do we turn that into other things, and create this team or community that now starts rolling and stuff, that people that are passionate. I mean, I think I love to be part of people who are passionate. That just they hate to lose, but they love to win, and they celebrate one and don't like the other. And so, but I think for me, intentionally putting people around me, and I think that's what happened. I got people put around me and came around me that sort of fit and helped us grow the business and create that type of team and community. So
yeah, no, that's very cool. So then, Smokey Point Concrete is the Quickcrete section of it. Is that under Smokey Point, or is that a separate company?
So the Quickcrete, I'm not. That's not
Quickcrete itself. Yeah, the ready mix concrete. Skagit ready mix.
Skagit ready mix.
Yes, that one.
Yeah. So Skagit. Sorry, no problem. So
it's like calling our coffee Starbucks. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So, but Skagit Ready Mix is a company that we bought about 18 years ago, and so it's up in Skagit County, and it's basically a division of our company and does the same thing up in the Skagit County. So we basically serve 3 to 4 counties, basically Snohomish, Skagit, Island, and then some in North King and South Whatcom type counties. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So then, this whole time, as you continue to grow the business and stuff, you get to the point where you've got 4 kids. How do you balance all of that together when you're doing this?
Not very well. As you know, as a young father and building a business, the challenges come from how much time do you have in a day, and where are your priorities, and and there's times when your priorities get mixed up. Sometimes when when business becomes more the priority than family, and you got to pull yourself back in and make sure that you keep a priority. That your family's got to be your priority. And I wish I could say that was it all the time, because sometimes it wasn't. And because sometimes the business can be so overwhelming and things are happening that you just start focusing on it. I was blessed to have an incredible wife who was there to pick up the slack, and Nancy, and I think that's one of the blessings of overall the business of the family, is that to have a partner like that who's willing to understand some of the sacrifices most of the time, and then also work alongside you in so many ways to be successful, both I mean, not that she was directly involved in the business, but she was directly involved in supporting me that helped me grow the business. And then she was obviously directly involved with taking care of the family and doing a great job there. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and just to touch on it, I mean, I've mentioned them already, but 2 of your kids have already been on the podcast.
Yeah.
But Lauren was actually pretty early on in the podcast. I think episode 8, and then Leanna more recently. How has that been with? I mean, I also want to get into the other kids as well, but just how has it been seeing just each of your kids be successful in the way that they are?
That's the just been an incredible blessing to watch that, and lots of prayer, lots of time to see him grow and stuff, but yeah, it's exciting because you're watching them take on what are their own passions, what are their own gifts, and their own drives, and not necessarily follow directly after me or Nancy, but also taking the values that we've taught them and then going on expanding and stuff. And so yeah, it's been just an incredible time to watch them grow and watch them make mistakes and watch them grow again and watch them make that whole process. But we're really proud of all our kids, and they've each got their own journey and their own journey story, but really it's been fun to be a part of that and watch it now as they're young adults to still be able to be a part of it and watch them grow and the things they're doing. So
yeah. Is this something that, like, with each of them, have you where they are now, was it something like as kids you were like, oh, I can see them doing this type of thing, or is it like some of these things like completely out of there, like I had no idea this was going to happen?
Yeah, it's interesting because each kid has their own desires and passions and those sort of things. And you think you raised them all the same, but they're all totally different.
Yeah.
And so yeah, some of it's Lauren's always been she's a hard charger and real passionate. So she's has that where she's just and watching how she's has run her horse business and run her new Arbonne business, and then how she's how her just how she takes being a mother on, and it's just been sort of those things. You say, okay, and it's just amazing to see what kind of wonderful mother she's become. So yeah, so it's and with Craig, my son, and watching he went the athletic route and had some success in college with a golf scholarship and going through that, and watching his journey and stuff, and then seeing him as he's getting older and growing and how well he's doing. And so, when you think about was that going to happen, I don't know. Leanna with her music was singing when she was 4 years old. So I said, oh, maybe this will be, maybe she'll be doing this. And Lindsay's just watching her succeed as a talented, working as a music management industry, just a talented young lady, watching her, using her gifts to share and stuff. So, could I have said that they were each doing that? No, but I guess the key thing is that for me is that each of them's following God and following their heart and passion right now. And
yeah.
So there's some really cool stuff happening with them. So
yeah, no, that's very cool. And then going back to Craig, so I mean, I grew up and I would hang out with Craig every once in a while, and it was so we were friends growing up, and then. It must have been when you guys moved off to Stanwood, and then just high school. There's so many other things going on. Kind of lost contact with him, but he's now working with you in the business, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So
very cool.
And it's been fun, and it's also challenging. It's and you could probably relate to some of this because you're doing a little bit of the same thing and following and. Taking over some of your dad's business, and the challenges that come with that is trying to. How do you create your own voice? How do you create your own imprint on this, and what does that look like? Because obviously Craig's different than me, and you're different than your dad, and you don't want to be the cookie cutter replacement, but you also want to take the good stuff that they're doing and that sort of thing. And so I think there's a real challenge. I think especially for children taking or being a part of a business like that, because. You almost have to prove yourself to another level.
Right.
You've got to almost be twice as good and work twice as hard for people to believe that you're
not just handed
not
it.
just handed to it, and it's difficult because there's a lot of people don't understand that, and then so you're under a microscope, and so there's a real challenge with that, and I've watched my son handle that challenge really well and continue to grow it, and he'll succeed because I think he's got that desire to, and that he'll set his own imprint on the business. So
yeah. And how long has he been working there?
Well, he's actually been working, basically, through college. He was working summers and that sort of thing, and then came to work after college and basically worked out in the labor side of it, not in the construction side for a while, and then basically from there went. Tried his career at going out and trying a little shot at some professional golf and down in Arizona.
Okay.
And then came back and went back to work out in the precast division. And then a couple years ago, basically. Our sales manager, one of my management team, basically said, he's got skills and gifts to get into sales, and I think so. He wanted to bring him in the sales team, and which he's really doing a great job. So
yeah, very cool. And so then, so kind of circling back then, more recently then, fairly recently, you've actually sold the business, right?
Right. Yep.
Okay. So how did that come about?
It was just it's one of those things. The company had approached me and a number of years back and wanted to do it, and I wasn't ready at the time, and just a multitude of factors over and one of the main factors was that I was looking for in a buyer was that we were being able to operate autonomously and operate with the same type of atmosphere and basically business situation we had. And they've allowed us to basically operate it just how I operate it in a lot of ways. They've brought in and added things that have been very positive and very good. But we've been able to basically keep it the same.
Okay.
And that was one of the biggest things I had when I was going to sell the business. That it was, and this company was more interested in, basically the people rather than just the iron. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was a good time. So yeah, good move. So
very cool. And so then you've continued on working with them.
Yeah, that was one of the. They asked me to stay on and operate, which was for me was that's great. I love still love the business most of the time. You can't say that about business all the time, right, Brandon? It's not fun all the time, right? So
right.
But yeah, still and a lot of it for me now is just the idea of that it's the team and the people I'm around, and then now building the legacy of who's going to who's the next team, who's the next group going to take over, what's going to happen, and help build and train, help build and train that next team that will not only take what we have, but take what we have and make it better to the next level. So. Yeah,
that's very cool. So then the other question is, when you initially bought in, you said there was 4 owners, only one being an operational one. How the other owners, did they end up eventually selling their shares to you, or how did that all end up?
We all sold out at the time of sale, so it was all
okay.
Yep, and that worked out. The timing was right for everybody at the time, and so it all worked out. So,
yeah, very cool. So what do you see as far as like the future of Smokey Point Concrete and what it looks like going forward?
I think it's a great time for us right now. We got a lot of plans for growth and continue to grow, and then just continuing to grow what we do internally, and making sure we're taking care of our internal customers and our external customers, and just as those opportunities come to grow and to grow people and advance them that want to be advanced and grow and be part of that team. And so I think for it's a bright future. I think the construction industry is strong and coming north out of King County. So I think it's going to be for the construction supply industry, and then looking at the right opportunities to grow and those sort of things. So
yeah, very cool. All right. Well, I like to end every podcast with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So the first one is: do you have a lesser known or favorite location on Camano Island that you like to hang out?
Oh, let's see here. Yeah, we have a couple places. We like to hang out on the water out here. We have a place down near the water and down in South Camano, so we enjoy going down there and being on the beach and hanging out, have campfires and roast hot dogs and marshmallows and just play on the beach. So that's probably our less known place because that's our place.
All right. Pretend you have a friend coming from out of town to visit Camano. Or not Camano, but visit you guys. What would the first day look like here?
Well, we've done this a little bit, and we've brought people out here, and actually, your business here is one of our first stops.
Thank you.
It's been a Camano Coffee and the Camano Commons. We've spent a lot of time out here, and we actually have friends now that come up here specifically to come here. So they call us when they're coming here and and tell us, well, we'll meet you out there. So in fact, we were just out here and we had coffee this has been a fun spot, and you guys have done a great job building a little community around this, and it's been pretty positive. We've sent gift baskets. We have people look forward to gift baskets coming out of here for gifts send them back to Nashville and all over, and we've actually taken art class out here too. So this is with Jed Dorsey. So that was fun. So. But yeah, this has been so that would start here. I think it's a fun place to jump off and go see. And then we've enjoyed the hikes around the state park, the beaches of the state park.
Yeah,
around there is a great place to go visit. I think. I just think having a beach fire and roasting hot dogs and marshmallows is a great way to end a day out here in Camano Island, and so it's just fun to be out of here. It's just such a beautiful place. So
All right, who is an interesting or fascinating person in this community that I should interview next?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to give you a couple. So how's that?
Sounds
good. I'm going to give you two. So I'll give you probably my youngest daughter, Lindsay Crawford, who's working back in the music industry back in Nashville, in the music management industry.
Yeah,
and really learning and growing back there. And it's been interesting to watch her journey and her challenges and stuff. But it's since a totally different industry that I've been involved in and seen. And then it's been fun to hear her stories about it and stuff.
Yeah.
So. The other one I think would be my son-in-law, Tyler Brim, and he's probably going to be mad that I said this, but I'm going to do it anyway. But just a fifth-generation farmer, was a great athlete here, and went on to play college football, and a very educated guy in college. I think nearly got his master's degree. But how passionate he is about the community and the farming that takes place, it would be. I think somebody to talk about with. So
yeah, he was actually mentioned by Lauren as well. So and she said the same thing that he'll. So we're coming for you.
They'll be mad. Poor Tyler.
Very cool. All right, and lastly, if you could have a message on a billboard right as you're driving on the island, what would that say?
I think I remember when it was going through the growth part of the business, and you're just battling and you're stressed, you're tired. I remember when I lived on the island, the Cleveland business. When I drove on the island, it was like all of a sudden everything just changed. It was like I was relaxed. It was almost like I almost called it like driving onto the vacation island or something. It literally almost changed. For me, I think every time I drive on here, I have such good memories. For me, it's just, I think, peace, beautiful community type thing. It was peaceful for me to be out here, and I think that's one of those memories I can just remember during a stressful days. But driving on, all of a sudden, okay, breathe now, breathe. Maybe it's breathe. Put breathe on there. Yeah. Breathe and relax. So
yep, very cool. Yeah, that's a common. A lot of people say that, like. We have a lot of people that commute and stuff like that, and come here live here on the island, but commute to Boeing or elsewhere. And I feel like that's something that's a pretty common, as they say, as soon as they cross that bridge, it's like, there's a difference when they've crossed it. So, well, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. It's been great to talk. So,
yeah. All right. And Islanders, I will talk to you on the next one. Well, a big thank you to Mark Crawford for joining us on the podcast today, and thank you for listening. If you haven't already, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform. And for more information about this episode, go to CamanoCommons.com/EP36. That's CamanoCommons.com/EP36. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.